We don't just see with our eyes, we see with all of our senses. The word chakra comes from Sanskrit, but it means spinning wheel or disc. We call it the Rootsilience leadership map. And that map gives you literally a score by chakra so that you know which chakra to start.
This took me to the next level.
We are already out of our bodies. We're already too much in our head. So we need to carve a path down and in. Symptoms of imbalance in the root chakra include:
what's the latest trend? 1 minute you're taping your mouth shut. The next you're supposed to sip a nightly glass of wine or swear it off. Egg yolks are the heroes, then they're the villains. Peptides, weighted vest, creatine for women, the noise never ends. So how do we know what actually works? I am Juliet Hahn, and this is Don't Die Curious. In every episode, I sit down with doctors, innovators, and everyday legends to separate the facts from the hype and uncover what really sharpens the mind, strengthens the body, and fuels the spirit. Stay curious. One good question can change your life forever. Welcome back to Don't Die Curious. This is Juliet Hahn with a very special guest, Rimi Chakraborty. How are you?
Hello, it's so nice to be here.
So this is one of my favorite people to talk to. That we've done a lot of different things. If you have followed me in any of my story, Rimi is peppered in there, and especially the last, I would say 4 or 5 years, right? Or is that, really 4 or 5 years. And one of the things that I want to get into today, so you guys are like, you know what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the chakras. And I've become really fascinated with that, just on how my body works and different mind-body connections. And in this noisy world where everyone's telling us, like, you need to follow this, there's so many different things. There's, Kabbalah, there's human design, there's, so many different things. And I find it all really fascinating. And I know top line stuff. I know a little bit more about the chakras because of you and the work that you do. And so I thought, what a perfect guest to really have the listeners kind of be in this mind, body, spirit, because that's what this podcast is about. It's about being curious and asking questions. So welcome.
Thank you. It's so good to see you, and so great to be talking about this subject, which has so much richness and depth. And let me know how you want to start and how deep you want to go.
Yeah, I do. So I would love, I know there's so much to it. And I think, I want this to be really for the listener that wants to better themselves, right? They find that they're here, that they want to better themselves. We've talked about in a couple of the other episodes, like right now, the whole thing is, women with weighted vests, right? We should be eating so much protein. We should be mouth taping. We shouldn't be having that wine, or we should be having that wine. Yolk is not good for you.
Yeah.
And there's so many, and then now it is, and there's so much noise out there. And I think as a woman, especially in my 50s, I've always been really connected to my body, but never put words to it. So the fact that I figured out where my chakra centers are and what I can feel, it's really helped me in the position that I'm in, as the chief communications officer. So that has been really, really helpful. But then also just raising my family, raising my kids, and uplifting myself. So I would love for this to be really for the person that's I want to do better. And some of this stuff is really confusing. I got into the yoga practice, and that's kind of how I really, started asking you a little bit more about the chakras and what it means. And so if you can give us the overview of what, if someone's I have no idea what she's talking about. I've never heard that word, kind of take us through that, and then I'll ask you some questions.
Sure. And great context. So the chakras, you can think of them like a lens. Like you mentioned, there's so many lenses, like astrology or diet or all these other things that can be helpful. And so essentially, it's like the hard drive of a computer, meaning that we are essentially pre-programmed with these tendencies, just like our hair color or our eye color, or whether we have genetic predispositions for certain things or certain behaviors. So chakra, the word chakra comes from Sanskrit. And so the pronunciation chakra is important just because Sanskrit is a vibrational language, meaning the vibration, whether you know what it means or not, it activates a lot of these energetic centers in the body. But it means spinning wheel or disc, as in spinning wheel of energy. And there are many places that we have, our whole body is energy, really, right? And so there's different places that you can refer to that talk about 72,000 pressure points or nadis, or, the 12 meridians if you look at Chinese medicine. But chakras come from the Sanskrit texts that are known as the Vedic texts that gave rise to yoga and meditation and mindfulness today. And so they come from the same place that a lot of what we know as, exercise yoga comes from, but it runs a lot deeper. And these chakras, traditionally, they are along the central channel. So I talked about these, whether you call them 72,000 or, 12 meridians, there are places where these energy channels come together, like energetic highways. And the energetic highways come together along the spine. So right along the center of the spine. And if you can feel in now for your tailbone or the base of your spine, and you can slowly move your attention up to your low belly, slowly move it up to the, diaphragm, the heart, the throat, the forehead, and the center of your brain up into the top of your head. These are the positions of the 7 traditional chakras. And each chakra holds this programming, like I talked about, the DNA or the hard drive of your computer, so to speak. And the programming can be shifted and changed, but most importantly is it gives us a lens through which to understand our physical, our emotional, and our spiritual or subtle body behaviors and attributes.
I love that. And when you just did that, I literally closed my eyes and I could felt that. And that's the one thing I love. Like, I'm all about energy. Ever since I was little, everyone was, oh, you have such great energy. And, people, oh, you have such great energy. And that's something I get a lot. But now I can feel it. And I love, like, I just did a sound bath on the beach yesterday, and it, like, at sunset. And, like, I've gotten into this. And this is, like, so different because I'm go, go, go. I'm not really, I wouldn't say like a type A personality, go, 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 but it's just in my DNA just to go. I love to move fast. I'm just a fast mover. And so slowing down has been really, really important for me, especially in the new role, especially with my kids at the ages they are as teenagers. It's been really helping me be able to have this energy, because we all can feel energy, whether you are sitting there, like my husband laughs at me, doesn't laugh in a bad way, but is always like, okay, what's happening here? But then when I say it, I know he's like, okay, I do feel you have different energy at sometimes, or if you're around someone, you have different energies. So, like, being really cognizant of that is really, really helpful as you move through life and move through your day. Yes. And so when you, like, I know I can feel my energy now. I know when I, was laying at the sound beach, like the sound bath, like I can feel where, and I can move my energy around in my body. And it sounds so crazy and unicorny but I'm so curious about it because I can feel, and I know now how to kind of settle myself. So I want people, first of all, to follow you so they can kind of see what you do, because you do a lot of practices. You do stuff on YouTube, but they can on Instagram. It's Rimi, and that's RIMI, and then CHAKRA _. And then they can also find you on LinkedIn. That's also a really, really great place. And you do some of this, you do a lot of this practices. People can find you if they're like, I want to know more, they can reach out to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in the show notes, you guys can see how Rimi spells her name. So I love that. And I think it's really important. Can you take us through, like, how I know I'm sacral? Like, I've always known that. And the way the world tells us is you need to listen to your brain, like you need to think. And I know now, and I've always known it, but I was never able to really put it into words until I started doing some of this work on myself, internal work, that, like, I have to listen to my gut. I do not listen to my brain. I do not listen to my heart. I listen to my gut, and I literally ask my gut questions. And again, it sounds so crazy, but it's so not. And it's gotten to me where I am. I've had so many people just be like, okay, how are you on this path? What is it? And it's because I've gotten so self-aware of who I am and what makes me tick. So as you explained, I love how you just explained the chakras there, but can you tell someone, like, if they're, again, just listening to this and they're like, okay, I closed my eyes, I didn't feel anything, or I did feel something and I felt things in different spots. Can you tell us, like, how each person has a different chakra that either it's clogged, right? And I'm probably using the different words. And I liked how you said chakras, but I'm not saying it right.
No, you're saying it perfectly.
But when you have clogged energy in places, and I love this, and I do want to get into because I know friends that will have throat stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And they're friends, but not friends enough that I can be like, okay, that's something in your chakra. Cause they're not like
check
those.
out your throat chakra. Yeah. That's like a weird thing you might want to say at a party. Yeah. Well,
Right.
no, so let me answer that. So the best way to think about it is that each chakra, and then there's 7, and basically I went through them, but the root chakra, the base of the spine, the sacral chakra, which you mentioned, which is in your area of your pelvis or your belly button, and think about them as in the middle of your spine. So they're not in the front or the back, they're really in the center of your body. And then the solar plexus, which is around the diaphragm, and then the heart, which is the center of your chest, not your physical organ heart. Then up into your throat, right in the center of the throat, and then up into the third eye, and then the crown chakra at the crown of the head. So these chakras can either be balanced, meaning there's a free flow of energy moving, because energy is always moving. And yes, everything is energy. They can be really open, like overly open. And I'll give an example of that in a moment, or they can be closed or even blocked. And so an example of someone, let's talk about the throat chakra. So if it's really open, you might recognize this in yourself or others when someone is just really verbose, like they keep talking and talking and talking, or maybe they are always gossiping, or there's someone who that you cannot entrust with valuable information, because whatever you tell them, it's just going to literally spill out. And so that's a sign, a behavioral sign of someone with an open throat chakra. Now, and a physical sign could be a thyroid imbalance. And so this is one of the things that I explore in our book that I co-wrote. It's combining those physical symptoms with the emotional and behavioral symptoms. And so someone that has maybe hyperthyroidism, like the thyroid is moving too fast, there's like too much. And so another example of someone with maybe a closed throat chakra would be someone who has trouble speaking up, or who has trouble making decisions, because the throat chakra is all about communication. And if we are making decisions not in alignment with our path, that's also not choosing well, right? So we say we want to live the life of our dreams, but then we keep not setting boundaries, or we keep saying yes when we mean no. This is another example of a closed throat chakra. And on the thyroid side, it could be hypothyroidism, right? And when we look at the chakras, I mentioned they're sort of pre-programmed in like the hard drive of a computer. And that's because of all sorts of things. There's all sorts of theories that we won't get into, but we can start to become aware of, like you said, where your energy is and where you're moving it. And we can start to shift these patterns so that we do find flow. We find an ease of flow so that we avoid dis-ease or disease, because it's when we have those blocks that there's stuck energy. And when there's stuck energy, there's very often a physical symptom that arises that can turn into a big disease. So for example, with the heart chakra, if you know someone, or if you in your own life or someone listening has had breast cancer, the heart chakra is all about balancing giving and receiving. And most women, we tend to overgive, right? We have grown up with this ideal of being a martyr, in fact, and that we need to give until we're empty. And a lot of women who have this overgiving, and it's not to blame women and it's not to punish women, but it's to recognize the symptom so we can change it. But oftentimes, think about the women who have experienced breast cancer, there's often a balance between giving and receiving. And so if we can start to receive and really receive, like more than just going to the spa and getting our nails done, yes, that's great. But I mean, receiving like a compliment, or receiving help when you need it, or asking for help, that's also connected. And so then you can start to look at chakras as this interconnected system. So sometimes if the throat chakra is really open, it's because the one above or below it is closed. So if the heart chakra is closed, like somehow we feel like we're not lovable, or something's happened in our lives where we've shut down and we feel like we have to just keep giving or keep pleasing in order to be loved, then we might be closed in the heart chakra, but we might be really overly verbose in the throat chakra. And again, it's not a 1, 2, 3, here's my diagnosis. It's, a lens that we look through and we gain insight, and there's so many layers. And so it's not like a one and done. It's sort of like, that's an interesting perspective. Let me dive deeper. Yes. And then beyond the physical and the emotional, there's of course the foods and the mind body practices that can help to bring balance.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I think, again, for people to really be self-aware, because if you're not self-aware, there's no growth, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes these are hard. Like someone could be listening to this and being like, oh, wait, I don't like how that feels because yes, right, I have that. Or
Yeah.
I mean, I know so many women that have thyroid issues that take medicine and it always surprised me. Like I'd be like, oh, that's so interesting. So when I remember whenever I would get blood work, I'd be like, do I have a thyroid? Like, is that like an age thing, right? Is this happening? And it's interesting. I'm very fortunate that I don't, but I know so many people that have thyroid issues that take meds for it because they either have an overactive or underactive.
Yeah.
And especially going into this phase of my life with hormones and stuff, I definitely am, more like women that I come across or we talk about it. It's like, okay, where are you? Oh, the hormone thing and these different things.
Yeah.
And so to be very thoughtful and really sit with it just helps you kind of get to that next practice and then have that flow of energy and being able to take control of it. And as you said, the lens is so important. So can you give an example, kind of with every chakra, like where it could be,
Yeah,
okay,
sure. Yeah.
and then I would love for like at the end, we're going to like maybe do a little bit of a practice, to kind of help
Yeah.
people start and do something so they can take that away.
I love that. Well, let's start from the top and work our way down because that is the way that we go in my book. And also it's the way that we descend into our body because too often we are already out of our bodies. We're already too much in our head. So we need to carve a path down and in. So we're going to start at the crown. So right at the top of your head is the crown chakra. And this is connected to the element of thought. And it's about our connection to our higher purpose, whether it's a divinity, God, goddess, spirit, source, or whether it's a connection to purpose. This is where we feel and connect with that and we have information around that. And physically, we can notice an imbalance if we feel or experience depression, seasonal affective disorder, insomnia. These can be signs of an imbalance in the crown chakra. And physically, the gland is associated with the pineal gland, which is a crown-shaped gland that sits right in the center of our brain that is tied to basically the master gland of all of the functions that go on, talking about hormones, all the communicators and all the functions in our body. So then if we go down into the center of the brain, if you can imagine or just sort of tap in, sometimes it's easier to imagine the center of the forehead. Some people call this the third eye. This is the chakra that is associated with our ability to perceive, to see. And we don't just see with our eyes, we see with all of our senses. We see with our intuition. Intuition is really big here. And this is a big focus of opening and expanding the third eye, is understanding those different languages of the different senses. We might notice an imbalance here if we experience anxiety, which is, ding, ding, ding. So many people are experiencing anxiety. There's this epidemic of anxiety, and it's no wonder we're all becoming more intuitive and we just don't know how to deal with all the incoming information. We may also see this in physically in brain health. And so Alzheimer's disease, these are dementia. These are connected to the brain and overall brain health. This is tied to the third eye chakra. And then if you come down into the center of the throat chakra, as I mentioned, is all about communication. And the thyroid gland, of course, is the communicator hormone. This is what tells your body whether to increase metabolism or decrease metabolism. And this is really important, not only for communicating, but listening and also the choices that we make. If we come down then into the heart chakra in the center of the chest, this is about our ability to give and receive in balance and to really remember our essence as absolute love. So meaning love isn't conditional. We didn't have to do or look or have something to look a certain way or to be loved, right? And so it's that love that doesn't depend on another. And the physical aspect of this, of course, is heart health. And I mentioned breast health as well. This is also the area of the lungs. And so oftentimes if there's a lot of grief or a lack of forgiveness, for example, or an inability to forgive because there's just, so much, then that can come up as asthma even. And so all these things are connected to the heart chakra. And then if we move down into the solar plexus, and, Juliet, you talked about having a ton of energy and being so motivated. And I think we share that. Solar plexus is all about our inner fire. It's our drive. It's literally the place of our metabolism. And we metabolize our food into energy. We also metabolize our experiences into evolution in life. And the symptoms of imbalance here can be imposter syndrome, because those of us who are really high energy go-getters, movers and shakers, we often deep down suffer from feeling, are we enough? And so the main lessons here are around radiating our benevolent power, so that our power isn't about comparison or manipulation, but our power is about radiating that light. And remember, I talked about the chakras being connected, radiating that light of the heart, that absolute love that we are. And physically, any symptoms around digestion or, IBS or constipation, those kinds of things, diarrhea, any gut health issues are often connected to an imbalance in the solar plexus. So then we come into the sacral chakra, which is in the area of the reproductive organs in the pelvis. And this is all about the balance of discipline and surrender. And so it's flow. It's the place where our emotions can flow, or if we're not allowing the emotions, they can be dammed up. And this is a place I learned some of my biggest lessons coming into this work, because I used to burn both ends of the candle. I was in corporate. I was waking up, going right into the car, no breakfast, getting on conference calls, eating lunch in front of the computer, just on all the time, never stopping. And lo and behold, I got a lot of urinary tract infections. And so any kind of reproductive challenges, whether you have super heavy periods or light periods or irregular periods, or, if there's any kind of ovarian cysts, there's so much here for women. And think about it. We have been taught to control our emotions. And this is a place where when any of those symptoms arise, it's a sign that there's some imbalance of being that go, or that disciplined, and finding that surrender, that ability to go with the flow. Think about water, right? It's the element of water. And when we get down then into the root chakra, which is at the base of the spine, this is all about being safe and being connected to what really feels like home. And for some of us, home might bring up some issues around trauma or feelings of abandonment. So what is really home? Who is your tribe? What is your connection to the earth? And the element here is earth, and feeling a sense of groundedness and connectedness. Here, we also explore our relationship with material things like money. How do we feel like we have enough? And how can we trust our tribe? How can we trust that someone's got our back? How can we feel that our nervous system is in a state of parasympathetic nervous system response, rest and digest, versus sympathetic or fight or flight? And symptoms of imbalance in the root chakra include sciatica. That's the number one symptom of not being grounded or feeling like, literally the ground's being pulled out from under you. Or of course, hemorrhoids, any kind of joint pain. This is also a sign of an imbalance in the root chakra. And behaviorally, this can come out as somebody who just can't get anything done. Like you might start projects or you don't finish them. And someone who maybe burns bridges and doesn't feel safe anywhere. Like there's always moving around, and even hoarding. Hoarding is an extreme example on the other side of feeling like you need to fill up with stuff because maybe you didn't, or deep down you don't feel safe. And by the way, as I'm talking, I'm realizing a lot of the things I'm saying could be triggering. And it's a reminder that we're not bringing these up to judge ourselves. Again, it's about inquiry, self-inquiry, and compassionate self-inquiry, because we need to see it to heal it. We need to see it not from a what's wrong with me and what do I need to fix perspective, but we need to see it from a, oh, okay, this could be why, or this could be a way in. And we're all here to evolve, and we're all here to have this journey. And so I realized that as I was speaking, some of those things, notice what struck a chord, because if it did, then that's ding, 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 something to go deeper into and really focus on.
And I love that. And I'll be a little vulnerable here. And it's interesting because, so everything that Rimi just talked about, I can take you through a couple of things where, especially in life's journey, where, and especially now after yoga and then working with weight training and my trainers, it's been really interesting. I've had a lot of tightness in my solar part. Like, so my ribs have been like and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Not realizing as I've been evolving in this position that I've taken, that is really out of my comfort zone. But I was like, yeah, I tackle anything. I can do anything, right? I can say yes because I know it. I know how to say no because I also know if I take too much on, like I've gotten really, really good at all of that. But this took me to the next level. And I had done a lot of self-awareness work. I've always been really self-aware, period. Even as a kid, like, this doesn't feel right. And I've done work like that. So I feel like I've been pretty, like, even traumas at home, whatever. Like, I feel like I'm pretty, healed in a lot of things, but this taking on what I've taken brought up a lot of stuff that I didn't realize, and then took me down a path of like, okay, I need to heal some childhood stuff that I didn't realize. I was always the protector, which I was like, what is that? Like I had pretty okay, so it was all these really interesting things, but having my ribs and my like not being able to take an interesting deep breath, like I would stop and have to like pause and then take a deep breath. And we noticed, I was like, why am I doing that? Like I'm breathing normally. And it was like, okay, there's some stuff here. And then more that I talked about, I was like, oh, fuck. Right? You're like, God damn it. I thought I dealt with that. Doing a lot of the work that I'm doing in the dyslexic world, that was a lot of trapped stuff that I knew that I had a lot of trauma around it, but I also was like, no, it's my superpower. It's great. It's all these things. And then doing a lot of the work that I do with the Sopal Foundation and with Brant on word blindness, I was able to really actually release a lot of that stuff. So then getting to the position I'm in, it was like almost this like shitstorm that was just waiting to blow up. And it was a lot of work, and interesting working with my, physical trainers being like, okay, let's think about that. And then me being able to verbalize and connect. Like I'm really locked in on my ribs and I don't know why. I've gone to the chiropractor, I've gone to acupuncture, and every time, and it would pull a hip and it would pull a shoulder. And I'd be like, something's just not aligned on my left side. And so I did some deep diving on there. Why is that? And it's all really interesting. And was it easy? And I didn't see a therapist. Like I didn't see a traditional therapist at all. I really just did like, reading some of your book and talking it through with people that understood it. And talking to other women, just about it. Like I'm having this, a lot of it, again, started with hormones, like, okay, it made me more aware and let's pause. The kids are older. I had a different mindset of like, okay, they don't need me as much. I don't like how that feels. Right. And then like, they're not needing me. Why is this really bothering me? Like, I feel like I'm pretty okay. No, no, this is something that I need to work on here. So that was like, I didn't have like the digestive issues, but I had a lot of tightness in that area. So my breath, I wasn't going from this, like the normal, like lungs, chest, stomach, or whatever, how it is. I was like skipping over the ribs part.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, I have to be really thoughtful. And when I do all of a sudden realize that I'm doing that again, I'm like, okay, what is it at work? And I know, what is it at work that I'm feeling a little less than? I'm feeling a little out of my comfort zone. I'm like, really talking to top physicians and, and it's a different world for me. I'm not in the science world. Science has a lot of trauma because of school, because I was always told I was the dumb girl, right? Because of my dyslexia. So all of it kind of came together. So anyone that's listening to this, like you have to think of exactly what Rimi said. And again, some of it could be really triggering and maybe you do need to talk to a therapist or you have a therapist and you need to work through it. It's a different philosophy. But it's a really old philosophy that you have to give credit to. I mean, and it really is beautiful and really, I mean, healing and helping. So I haven't dove all the way, like some of the stuff you were talking about. I was like, oh, all right, maybe we got some work there. We haven't finished that work.
I know, we could spend a whole podcast on each of the chakras. I basically just touched on the high level things. There's so much to each of them. And and I love your vulnerability around your, what you shared. And I think rest, the solar plexus, I forgot to mention, and you reminded me, it's all about balancing doing with rest. And so many of us, especially us overachievers, high performers, and it's that permission to really rest. And you think about fire, if fire is like burning too much, it burns down. We literally just had the biggest forest fire ever to date in Portugal, in mainland Portugal.
Oh,
And
gosh.
yeah, and like you think about how much people are pushing and pushing and pushing, and you think about the forest fires going on around the world.
There's
and
so many.
Definitely a connection. And so if we can literally cool the fire, create space and rest, a lot of the practices in the book are around rest. And I should mention my co-author, Samantha Anderson, she's a functional medicine health coach. And I didn't speak about this, but in each chapter, she goes into detail about the body functions and also the foods that support heart health, the foods that support thyroid health, as well as herbs and different kinds of preparations of teas. It's an incredible resource. And as you know, there's the leadership map that any of the listeners can go, and we can put the link in the show notes.
Yeah, we will. Yeah.
Go and take this 20-minute assessment. It's not as simple as 1, 2, 3. It is a little bit more involved. It has 2 main steps, but what it gives you is your chakra scorecard. We call it the Rootsilience leadership map because the book is beyond resilience to Rootsilience. So we go down and in, carving a path to our roots and being rooted rather than being pulled away with what stretches us. And that map gives you literally a score by chakra so that you know which chakra to start. And that then corresponds to the book. So you can go right to that chapter, go right to the foods and the tools and the movement that will support you and bring you into balance. So the journey to well-being isn't so overwhelming. And so you don't have to reach burnout to start healing, and you don't have to get a disease to start getting better.
And it did. It simplifies it and took the scariness out of it. Cause I was like, this is so out of my comfort zone. Cause as much as I use homeopathy and I do believe in this whole world and yoga and stuff, but I'm very top line. My personality is not like, I'm not going to study it to the depths. I like to know it and then feel in my own body. Like, how does this feel? Am I doing this right? Or, let me dive in here. And it's not all the time. It's like a handbook where it's like, okay, I feel a little out of balance. Let me just go pick that up because, again, it's easy. It's like very digestible and it really helps. So thank you for like sharing all of that because it really is, it's so important and has made a really big difference in my life. And it's interesting, yoga, I just started on my own because it was like, I need something. The weight training is not giving me in my mind what I need anymore. And, for years, people, you should try yoga. I'm like, it's so boring. It's so boring. And then I found a studio here in West Hampton that I absolutely loved and, did 2 classes and then did 8 classes. And then for a year and a half, that's all I did was hot yoga every day. Because I'm all or nothing. And then it was like, came to a screeching halt where it's like, okay, it's not working for my mind anymore. And it's really bothering my hip. I need to reevaluate what's not. And that's the self-awareness, which is so important. And like people will beat themselves up at like the whole balance thing. And I am so I can be balanced in some things, but I am all or nothing. And that is my personality. And I love that about myself. And I just flow with it. I don't beat myself up. I'm like, okay, I'm here now. Okay, I'm all into this. And this is what I'm all into. And I know it's not going to be for the rest of my life. Like I know it's something else is going to flow in. But I leave myself self-aware and I let myself be curious about what is next. And I listen to my body. I listen to my mind. I listen to it all and I don't make rash decisions. It's just like, okay, this has come into my life a couple times. I'm going to try it. Let's see where it goes. And I think so many people try to control and not surrender what's happening. I mean, I do it with my kids. I'm very good at being okay with it for myself, but like for my kids, it's hard to like what's happening in their lives. Do I need to control this or help them? No, we need to we need that surrender. So can you take us through just a quick kind of, practice? You can start like literally go off this podcast and be like, okay, let me try it and do that.
Yeah. Let me see. Okay. So we'll do like a 5-7 minute practice very quick. Let me see. So I'm going to have your
I know listeners, I just threw that out. I threw that out without telling you I was going to do that.
I'm going to have your listeners just sit comfortably or however you are, just uncross your legs and take a moment to straighten up your spine. Remember that the chakras reside along the spine. So we really want to focus on lining up the crown of our head with the tailbone. And this will actually be cool. I wonder if we can use sound. And I'm going to have you, Juliet, do it too, because I think it'll be cool to have our sound in this. We're going to use sound. Sound is vibration. And each of the chakras has a specific seed sound that comes from these ancient texts. And we're going to try it out. And I just want listeners to notice which places you feel kind of a lot, you feel really aligned, you feel really harmonized with the the sound in that place and which ones you don't. And then it's something to go back to. Notice kind of what really resonates for you. And so we're going to start at the base of the spine here. We're going to start at the root chakra, the tailbone and the low back, all the way at the base and the perineum. And I just want you to take a breath there. Notice what it's like to breathe there. And then the sound that we're going to make, and we're going to try to locate the sound and vibrate the sound into that chakra, is LAM, L-A-M. So taking a deep breath in. LAM. And then take another breath. Just notice what you notice. And then we're going to move up to the sacral chakra, the area behind the belly button. Taking a breath, noticing what it's like to access this area, any colors or shapes or textures or connection or maybe lack of connection. Again, no judgment, just observing. And then the sound, the seed sound here is VAM, V-A-M. So taking a deep breath in. VAM. Another breath when it comes, same area. Notice how sound can be a way to create opening and space and balance as well. And then coming into the solar plexus, to the area of the diaphragm, right at the top of the stomach in the center of your body. And the sound here is RAM, R-A-M. So deep breath in. RAM. Noticing what you notice. And then coming up into the space of the center of the chest behind the sternum, taking a breath here. And then the next time we'll chant YUM, Y-A-M. YUM.
Yum.
Notice the tone gets higher because we are aiming to vibrate the sound in the area of the chakra. Your tone might be higher or lower than ours. That's perfectly fine. But coming up into the throat, feeling for softening the muscles around the base of the throat and just bringing your awareness there. And the mantra here is HUM, H-A-M. Taking a deep breath in. HUM. Notice what you notice. And then coming into the center of the brain, if you can imagine coming behind the forehead into the third eye chakra. The sound here is one you may know well. It's Om. So taking a deep breath in. Om. And then coming to the crown of the head, the very top of the highest point of your head. Taking a breath here. And the sound here is silence. So taking another breath. And then slowly we're going to come back down one at a time. We're going to start at the crown of the head, just breathing in. As you exhale, coming down to third eye and into throat. Inhale, feeling the space of your heart. Exhale, coming down along through the solar plexus, through the sacral and the low belly, and exhaling down through the root. And then just taking a breath from the top down, all the way in and down as you inhale. And as you exhale, just settling into yourself, into this moment. Taking one more like that deep breath in, from the crown down to your tailbone. And exhale. When you're ready, we can come back.
Now, I'm sorry, like everyone, you have to feel more relaxed if you did that. I mean, right now I feel like I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a nap. That was awesome. That was awesome. And Rimi, I can't thank you enough. You guys, everything in the show notes, I shared where you can find Rimi. Definitely something that you want to go. She's got tons of practices that she does for free that you can look and just get yourself started. It is really important, especially if you want to get to that next level. And stay curious. I mean, you have to stay curious, or what's life about? So don't forget to like, rate, review, and share. And thank you again so much, Rimi, for joining Don't Die Curious.
Thank you. Woohoo!
Thank you for listening to Don't Die Curious. If this episode sparked a question, leave a review and share it with a friend. You want to connect or suggest a topic? Just look me up. I am Juliet Hahn on Instagram and LinkedIn. Until next time, stay curious and keep asking those questions. You don't know where it's going to lead you.